Peace, y'all. What up, though? This is Saxappeal, and you are listening to GrownFolksMusic.com.
GrownFolksMusic.com.
Saxappeal. Welcome to grownfolksmusic.com.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, let's see. You have kind of revolved around us, so we know a little bit about you because we know some artists who you've worked with, like Zoe. I think we've seen you play with Zoe,
Yes,
things
ma'am.
like that. But for the grown folks, for many of the grown folks, this is an introduction to you. So first, we know by that "What Up, Doe" that you are imported from Detroit.
That's right. Born and raised.
So am I. So that's a good thing.
So,
But just tell us about yourself and just how you got on the journey that you're on.
sure. Again, my stage name is Saxappeal. My real name is Ladero Johnson. And I have been playing saxophone, and I've been addicted to playing saxophone since 1992. And I was first inspired from watching The Simpsons and listening and watching Lisa Simpson play. And at the time, I was 8, and no, I'm sorry, I was 7, and she was 8. And when I watched her play, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me do the math. Well, she got a year on me. Okay, if I start playing now, I can catch up to her. I want to do what she's doing. And so, I approached my mom about it, and I told her, like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to play saxophone. And she was like, saxophone? Like, what? So that was the beginning of my journey. I played all the way up to grade school, middle school, high school, and college as well. And from when I was in college, I had the pleasure of touring with Dwelle, which was the very first tour that I had ever done on a professional level. And the ball just kept rolling from there.
It never occurred. I love that it never occurred to your 7-year-old mind that that's not really Lisa playing
at all. At all. Like, and eventually I did get a chance to like meet the guy who played saxophone for the show, a guy named Doug Webb. But yeah, like when I was a kid, I was like, oh no, that's gotta be some 8-year-old kid,
That's
awesome. How it works.
Yep. So now you're a solo artist. Mm-hmm. Got a new project out. Is this your first project?
This is actually my 4th project.
This
is my
project.
third. Yep, this is my my 3rd solo project and my 4th overall recorded studio album.
How is your journey as a solo artist different than when you were playing with a group? How's the expression different?
Honestly, it's a lot of pressure because it's you as your own entity, as your own brand, as your own sound. So like you have all the eyes on just you. Like you could point out with a group, but it's like, yeah, the sax player is cool and the singer is cool, but yeah, I don't really like the bass player. Like no, like when it comes to like the solo stuff, like everybody is like that light is like shined brightly on you. So it's like, all right, so I mean, as Detroiters, man, like we tend to fight best when our backs are against the wall. So I definitely feel like with the solo stuff, it's like, all right, well, I better bring it, otherwise I'm gonna get beat down.
Is the expression totally different? What I mean by that, the sound, what you want to bring forth, is it totally different? Your music as a solo artist?
It's kind of in the same realm. It's a blend of jazz, it's a blend of soul, R&B. I think I get a chance to do more of the jazz side as a solo artist. But then I also have the opportunity to bring more of like the Jay Dilla vibe to it, because I was heavily inspired as a producer from Jay Dilla. So I'm able to bring that side of it more to the solo projects.
Speaking about Detroit, what does it mean to you to be a musician from Detroit?
To me, it means everything. There's definitely there's a chip on the shoulder that you're kind of born with. Like people expect great things from Detroit. I mean, you got the whole Motown era. You got great artists such as Dwelle. You got Jay Dilla. You got Slum Village and Filler. You got this list of just, there's a certain sound, there's a grit that happens here in Detroit with the music. even just like from the house music scene, you know, and a lot of that stuff being birthed here. You got, you know, that sound, you got that vibe. So there's so many different energies that people are used to, you know. So it's definitely a lot of pressure, but it's one of those things where it's like I'm up for the challenge, you know.
So you have toured with some pretty popular artists that the grown folks would know. Let's talk about some of the artists you've toured with.
Cool. So I've had the pleasure of touring with Dwelle, Eric Roberson, Les Nubians. Um, who else is on that list? Floetry, uh, Leon Ware, who was an amazing singer-songwriter, who wrote a lot of the Marvin Gaye stuff. Also Zoe and Carmen Rogers, and the R&B legend himself, Mr. Charlie Wilson, former lead singer of the Gap Band.
There's a poster behind you.
Oh, and that guy, yeah. So with the Bruno stuff, that was a great opportunity because Bruno had asked for, it was a couple of different artists that he had asked to finish up the last leg of the 24 Karat Magic Tour. I think it was Sierra, Ella May, Boyz II Men, and Charlie Wilson. So we had a chance to open up for Bruno Mars, which was an amazing experience.
Any fun stories from tour life? Things that are stranger than fiction, how they say the truth is stranger than fiction. Anything that's so outrageous that we wouldn't believe it, but it's true. Nothing bad, but just a cool story, an outrageous story from touring.
I think one of my favorite, like, mind-blowing experiences was like the fact that we were doing sound check one day, and I think we were in Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken. But we were doing our sound check, and we saw somebody riding on this like 24 karat bike, like one of them old West Coast cruisers with like the gold chain as the steering wheel and the big handlebars, and it's Bruno coming driving down the aisleway, and you know he's just sitting there watching us groove, and it's like we gave him his own concert, you know, and it was like, man, this is really dope to see somebody of that level sit and appreciate our music, you know. And then afterwards, when we got done with soundcheck, like we got really cool, Bruno and I, like it was weird to like have one of them like starstruck moments because I've this is what I do, you know. So like I'm never like, oh my God, you're you, and oh, like, but I had one of those moments because it's Bruno Mars, like he's one of the biggest artists out right now, you know. So it was refreshing and unreal for me to be able to have like that rapport and that relationship with Bruno.
As you move in these different circles and get to have these different experiences, what's the biggest thing you've learned, or what's something that you've learned or you've taken with you that you're going to take forward?
One thing that I always take with me is that you know, every gig leads to another one, and I've always said that, and I've always learned it from some of my great mentors from way back in the day. You know, they always told me like you have to remember your humble beginnings, and you have to be able to play to some empty chairs. You know, like those are the things that's going to equip you for the tools that you need to do the bigger gigs. You know, you doing the gig with 20 people is going to lead you to a gig with 50 people, which is going to lead you to another one with 100 people, and it just grows and grows and grows. So you have to be able to keep that mentality, and then also remembering, like, you know, this can be taken away from you at any given moment. So to cherish it all, because 2020 was the prime example. You know, like I literally hadn't toured since I think March 8th of last year. You know, but even every experience that I had prior to, you know, I'm extremely thankful, and I'm looking forward to getting back on those stages and just, you know, putting it all out and leaving it all on the stage.
Speaking of that, speaking of gigs, as you just said, 2020 kind of brought doing gigs and live shows to a screeching halt,
Mm-hmm.
thanks to COVID. And Detroit was a city that got hit really hard by COVID. But talk about, as a musician, this space that musicians and artists of at whatever level, whatever, you know, caliber, everyone had to stop. The gig
Hmm.
stopped. So just talk about this whole season and how you've adjusted and what you've taken away from it and where do you go from here?
Yeah. So what I learned in this season is that you always have to find a way to be creative in some way, shape, and form as a creative. You know, of course, that was my major means of everything, of releasing frustration and anxiety, and uh, my largest financial means. You know, so it was a lot of eggs all in one basket once touring ended. You know, but I had music that I was working on. So there was I think COVID was a gift and a curse, if you will, because it allowed me to sit down and put out the Black Gold project. I don't think if I didn't have the time to do it like I had with us being under quarantine and under lockdown, you know, who's to say when the project would have came out, you know? So I'm thankful for that, but it definitely taught me that no matter what, like you have to continue to perfect your craft. Um, and find other ways to be creative. You know, like I was really thankful and fortunate to be able to find like a few virtual concerts that I were able to do, and like the whole virtual tip jar thing, which was cool. It's nowhere near the same because I literally I get I give to the audience what I get from the audience. You know, so it's you see a couple numbers and you see the hearts and stuff going up, but there's nothing like that energy of somebody screaming at you, and you know the claps
Mhm.
and the emotions that you can see. You know, so when that was taken away, I was like, man, like I can't connect with the people anymore. So it made me really realize like how connected I am to those people that I'm sitting and watching like a sea of people. But I, you know, I need that energy in order um, to be as creative from a live perspective.
You mentioned Black Gold Project and you're wearing the sweatshirt. Let's get into it. Talk about the album, the project, the inspiration. You said you started before this whole season of quarantine and such. So just talk about what you've put into the project and what it's about.
Sure. So Black Gold, actually, I started on Black Gold almost about 4 years ago. And, you know, I started just kind of putting down some conceptual beats and some compositions and arrangements. And was like, you know, this is just stuff that I got in my head. Let me just put it down and put it down on keys and put a little bass line on it, put a little bit of drums on it. And I put it in the back burner. And I just kind of like put a lot of that stuff away. And when, you know, like I said, when I had the time to actually work on it, it was like, you know what, let's put this project out. Now is the time. And for me, it was, I think it actually came out in the season that it was supposed to. And I remember early on, I was trying to rush Black Gold because I was like, man, like I like this project. I actually like the music. And as an artist, like as a creative, oftentimes like I'll hear something and be like, okay, that's cool. And then I'll hear it again and be like, I don't want to hear it anymore. Like, you know, like what's next? Let's hear somebody else. But like for this project, like this is actually the first project that I'm personally rocking with. So like it means a lot because there's a lot. Like it it tells a story from very early on, from when I was in a marriage to the separation to the divorce, and you know, trying to learn me as a grown Black man, raising another young man. So it tells that story without telling the story. Like it's not like a once upon a time this happened, like, but you can hear and feel the emotions in the music. You know, from the top of the album all the way to the very last song. So it's definitely a musical journey that expresses, you know, what I was going through and what I'm currently going through. But you know, in essence, I think the name derived from just feeling like, okay, I feel like I'm stepping into a majestic place.
Mhm.
And we as Black people, I feel like that's what we are. We are Black Gold. You know, we are the kings and queens of this land. So, you know, the album wasn't just about me, it was about us. So, you know, that was the mentality that I went into making the project, and from top to bottom, that's the energy that I gave everybody.
What's your definition of grown folks music?
My definition of grown folks music is when you hear a song and that head go down and them hands go up, and you go, oh, that's how you know you got you a grown folk music joint. Cause I grew up on grown folk music, man. Like the Teddy P's and that stuff make you feel stuff, man. Like the Marvin Gaye's and even like the James Brown funk, like all of that stuff, man. Like like that ain't nothing better than that. That grown folk music, boy.
Saxappeal, thank you so much for your time this evening. We appreciate you. All the best. Before we go, we have a little part that we call Shout It Out, and that means you get to tell us all things Saxappeal, where we can get Black Gold, where we can follow you, your social media platforms, websites, things of that nature, all things Saxappeal.
All right, word. So look, let's shout it out. Let's shout it out. So you can find all of my stuff online. If you're on social media, be sure to follow me there. And it's all the same word, Saxappeal Music, no spaces or anything. It's just Saxappeal Music, SAXAPPEAL Music. That's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. And I just recently got on TikTok because my son told me to get on it. So I'm learning how to use TikTok now. You can get the music from all digital streaming sites, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, wherever it is that you listen to music digitally. You can also purchase physical copies of the CD from my website, which is saxappealmusic.com. And if you like it, let me know. And if you don't like it, let me know too. I got tough skin. I can take it. So let me know. I really appreciate, and I thank you all so much for the support. It goes without saying, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I definitely appreciate the support.
We appreciate you. Thanks so much. Best of everything.
Thank you.
Take care.
GrownFolksMusic.com